Bwana Muturi nilimpatia kazi kama mkuu wa sheria. Yeye mwenyewe alinieleza ya kwamba hii kazi kwa sababu hajakuwa practice kwa muda mrefu, kwa sababu alitoka huko kwa kuwa magistrate, akaenda bunge, akakuwa mbunge, akakuwa speaker, akasema ile kazi kidogo inamlemea. Yeah? So nikakaa kidogo nikaona kweli amelemewa na ile kazi. Lakini makosa pengine ni yangu, nilimsindikizia, I persuaded him. Nikamwambia no, it's okay. Fanya tu hii kazi. Nafikiri haitakulemea. Lakini kwa muda nikaona kweli imemlemea. So nikasema okay, wacha nimbadilishie kazi. Nikampatia kazi ya waziri. Lakini hata wewe unajua. Sasa hapo katikati akagoma kuja katika baraza la mawaziri. Sasa mimi nataka nikuulize wewe, ni mimi nimemfuta kazi ama ni yeye alijivuta kazi? Sasa wewe ni waziri, baraza la mawaziri umeigomea. What am I supposed to do?
Okay, he was asking what he's supposed to do. Of course, by that time he had already appointed a successor of J.B. Muturi in the name of Geoffrey Ruku, Member of Parliament for Mbeere North. Former Attorney General explained and said that indeed he had rejected the offer for Attorney General because of various reasons. The President sent delegations, including that of Speaker Moses Wetangula, to him, and he says they have been friends. In fact, they were roommates in campus, and said that he was prevailed upon, but also explained to the President that the reason he didn't want to take up the job is that he would be in conflict with what the President would have wanted, him being the Attorney General. He even gave a reference of one particular matter of the Adani deals. Hear what he said and what was going on.
He's the one who was clearly behind it. And I know this because when his advisor, Adan Mohammed, invited me to attend the COP28 in Dubai in 2023, he gave me a lot of information which ended up with the Adani deal about the airport specifically.
So when you look at this, almost looks ugly, but at the same time, it brings to the fore lots of information. And Senator Sigei, you say that there's the Official Secrets Act, and even as you respect that, because the information is already out.
Yes.
The President has already spoken about his relationship with his former CS. The former CS has already spoken about his relationship with his former boss. What do you do with this information? Because it's revealing, isn't it?
On the one hand, it's so sad to hear, such allegations being termed as revelations. When we say Kenyans are not fools, is it that Justin Muturi woke up yesterday to realize that he's been going through all this and therefore it's time for him to tell Kenyans? When we say Kenyans are not fools, ama bei ya ujinga haupo tena, it's because even from where I sit, forget about for a moment the position that I hold as an elected leader, as a legislature. Justin Muturi served as the Speaker of the National Assembly for 2 terms. He served as the Attorney General. He cannot, for instance, come and tell us that I was forced into this office, if indeed he was such a competent leader, not necessarily as an Attorney General, but as a leader.
So you doubt he was persuaded? The President says he persuaded him. Why are you doubting it?
I'm saying, having been persuaded, for instance, is a confirmation of part of now what we've been told. This was such an incompetent person. And we always say, give me an opportunity. For example, I will learn through the ropes, I will run through the office, and I will be able at least to get the support. Remember, as we always say, leadership, whether you're in executive or even in our own capacity, it's all about teamwork. As a leader, you do not micromanage, you do not do everything. As long as you're able to lead your team, you've got the technical people that could guide you. Now,
Senator,
Justin Muturi
if you hired someone
seems to be so incompetent that he could not even utilize the technical supporters.
Imagine hiring someone,
yes,
they tell you they're not comfortable taking up the role, you persuade them, they take up the job, and you're in conflict with how they are helping you, they're advising you.
Yes.
Who should take the responsibility? The person you appointed or the person appointing?
The person, the appointing authority, has convinced me that I can take this job.
No, you're the one convincing. You're giving a job. You.
Yes. I am convincing someone. Yeah. Number one, as I've said, Sam, I have convinced you not necessarily because I have formed the outright opinion that you're incompetent. At the back of my mind, I know that as a cabinet secretary, you do not hit the road running as an individual, one person. You've got a team. Yours is at policy level. The cabinet secretaries and any other leader at that high level have advisors, whether legal, whether financial, whether political, and they are expected naturally to run under the guide of that team. If you are such an incompetent person, the way now, I would actually confidently say, notwithstanding the fact that JB Muturi is my senior in the profession, he could not make any such a decision and say, look, Your Excellency, I am not fit for this office, I cannot take it. What does that tell you? Number one. Number two, having served for the period that he served as the Attorney General, this is the period where we learned so many things about his inability to make decisions, his inability to guide the team. Remember, the office of the Attorney General is so long. And this is now coming out of the revelations that he's saying. Sorry? I'm saying this is coming out of what he's saying. He has got a team of over, I know, probably 100 plus lawyers surrounding him. If today, Sam, I'm unable to understand the headline that I have, and I have a team that can guide me, I will ask them, give me a guide, give me a story to tell. They will technically give me the advice, they will give me a speech that I will speak to, not because I am incompetent, but because I'm supposed to work with that team. All these things that are coming, as I've said, is not because of the issues and the personality that the former AG is saying of the presidency. It is because of what he has missed. And I feel bad when Mbui says that JB Muturi has not lost anything. And therefore, he's just talking just like any other Kenyan who would want to tell the people.
So as a legislator, forget about coming from the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. As a legislator, does this information concern you, that the President of the Republic can be described as such, as someone who served with him so closely?
If it would have come from someone other than JB Muturi, I would probably have had a second thought about it. You see, the other day, Sam, we discussed on this platform the alleged telephone conversation between JB Muturi and the president and someone from NIS and someone else about his son's abduction. Allow me to just lay that basis. We had that conversation here. JB Muturi says, I called the president, he told me this, he told me this, he told me this. He later on went to record a statement. That story disappeared. We are dealing with someone who is allegedly abducted, aged 42 years and above. That is barely a few months ago. Shortly thereafter, he dismisses himself. This is actually called constructive dismissal. He dismisses himself from cabinet.
I think you're not answering my question. So
he has not even bothered to answer.
Honorable Kagiri,
allow me to just conclude and say,
you're not responding to my question.
I am saying...
Did you hear my question?
I heard the question, sir.
As a legislator...
I heard the question, sir.
You sit in the Senate.
Yes.
A house that oversights the executive when it comes to the presidency and the deputy presidency. In fact, you contributed in impeaching Honorable Rigathi Gachagua.
Yes.
But such information coming from a cabinet secretary.
A former cabinet secretary.
Okay.
Yes.
Former cabinet secretary.
Yes.
How should the country treat it?
I have answered you and so straight that if it had come from someone other than JB Muturi, it would have been something to still think through. Why is it coming after he's been sacked? Why didn't he tell us 2 years down the line when he was the Attorney General and then he was the CS? Why? It's because he's just seeking sympathy, he's seeking for public attention, and he's confirming the accusations and the leveling of his incompetence by the president. Simply put. Yes.
All right. Mheshimiwa Kagiri, I know you said that we should not even be paying any attention to this information. You don't take it for anything. But what should Parliament do?
Allow me to first start by, for the first time, agreeing with my senior Robert Mbui that we can't speak of a situation where we have not sat in. And for me now, I've begun to accept that in this country we must listen to the two sides of a story. We've listened to the president speak about how the former CS was not even comfortable with the Attorney General docket. And that confirms what he was saying, that even he cannot speak about what JB experienced in cabinet or elsewhere by the bare fact that JB himself confirmed that even the position he was holding was not a position he was comfortable in practicing. But some would want to say, as a legislator, and I said it earlier.
Did you listen to the reason he gave, why he wasn't comfortable taking up that position?
I didn't listen to the reason. I must be frank.
So he said that eventually he told the appointing authority the reason why he did not want to take that position is because he would be in conflict, because the president may want certain things that he is required to advise on, and he's a stickler to the law. That's what he said.
But prior to that, I think you've also told us he had to be convinced by the current speaker, Moses Wetangula, to take up the position. Some, the inconsistency... A delegation was sent. Yes, a delegation was sent. Yes, a delegation was sent. But some, here comes in the inconsistencies. In the last appointment of cabinet secretaries, I remember the CS Rebecca Miano was appointed as an Attorney General. And we all remember that. She turned down that appointment and said she has not been practicing. Give me any other docket, but not the Attorney Generals. So, Sam, what stopped Justin Muturi? You don't need to be convinced by anybody. If you're patriotic, as he claims, if you are genuine to this country, as he claims, if you knew there would be conflict of interest, as he claims, why from the word go would you accept a position like that? So, as I said earlier, I am not disputing... Did you
hear the president saying that he takes responsibility because he persuaded him? Did you hear that?
Frankly, Sam, I did not listen to the interview too.
No. So I just played the clip a few minutes ago.
Of course, you've played the clip, but it's a section of the clip. So anyway, Sam, I agree. The president...
I played the clip, him saying he takes responsibility because he persuaded him.
Yes. But all the same, Sam, let us not wish away the fact that this is a patriotic Kenyan speaking in the name of Justin Muturi. Today, as Jane Kagiri, as he claims, because if you're patriotic enough, not even a president should convince you to take up a position that you do not believe in and serve in it for years.
Have you ever been convinced by higher authority?
Let me tell you, Sam, I have never.
You've never? Any
decision I have made, even up to this date, including the impeachment of the former deputy president, was a personal decision as Jane.
You didn't have to be convinced? Okay, all right. Mheshimiwa Mbowe, you're saying that a good leader delegates and that the president should not be taking over presentations. But tell me, so granted, you are a leader yourself. You have your own personality, traits, and of course, faults that may come with your personality. How do you distinguish between personal strength, the character of a leader, and how they execute their mandate versus what the Constitution says? Because granted, the president has his own personality, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does have his own personality. But Sam, you know, you've just run away from a very, very good conversation. And a lot of comments have been made here. You know, the senator was totally unable to answer any one of your questions. Actually, you asked him 3.
What do you mean?
And he didn't answer any. He went around and you asked him one straight question. What would you do if you were the appointing authority? And he completely went around that. He refused to answer that because he didn't want to get there. But then, now, let me say this. The conversation that has been going on here is of the former CS that was, you know, he was incompetent as Attorney General. I want to remind the panelists here that he didn't leave office as Attorney General. He actually left that office of Attorney General, was appointed CS, came to the vetting committee, appointments committee in the parliament, we vetted him, and he was appointed CS, and was actually now in the office of CS when he left office, when he kind of was uncomfortable. So he wasn't uncomfortable about being Attorney General when he left office. So that needs to come out clearly. But then the question I would ask is that who can you trust between these two people? Because here we have former CS and then we have the president. Which one of the two can you really trust? I have served under JB Muturi for 10 years when he was Speaker of the National Assembly. I have been in this country for the 2.5 years that William Ruto has been president. And one of the things that Kenyans know about the president is that he's very economical with the truth. very, very economical with the truth. I mean, and it speaks a lot of times people would... Economical meaning that sometimes he will paint a very rosy picture when there's actually doom ahead. So he's known for that. He's got very picturesque language. He knows how to paint a rosy picture and, you know, and tell people we'll take you out of the doldrums and improve your lives when he really has no clue or any plan on how to do it. But then when you listen to what he said about the former Attorney General, he said he's incompetent. And I ask myself, if somebody who is incompetent is a kind of person you will appoint to cabinet as president, then what does it say about the rest of the cabinet? Because I have to ask these questions. Because if you tell me that this person was incompetent as Attorney General, so therefore I appointed him as a CS, that speaks volumes about the kind of cabinet we have in this country. Maybe he needs to come out and tell us who else has he appointed to cabinet that he also believes is incompetent, because he did not fire JB when he was still active. JB had clearly stopped going to cabinet, we all know, and he had given his reasons. His own son was abducted, and he said, before we can transact any business as a country, it's important to deal with the issue of my son and others that you have abducted. You know, this thing of the abductions and this thing of the Gen Z, we seem to assume that it is over. It is not, by a long shot. The complaints that these people brought to Parliament, the issues that they raised, are still active up to now. And you saw in Embu when the young people started, they started raising their sentiments against what was being said. We saw the president's chief advisor, with a camera zooming in on those few boys. We are scared because
chief advisor.
Yeah, there's a chief advisor of the president.
The president actually said that
was taking photos.
His PS.
Okay,
and we all know.
But you don't dispute that he was taking photos, do you?
No, he was taking photos. We also. I mean,
so let me conclude.
Please conclude and also tell me, because you sat in the vetting committee, the appointments committee of the National Assembly.
Yes.
You didn't see any of this incompetence that the president
No, we didn't. We didn't. The JB Muturi is actually a very, 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 very competent leader. He's one of those people. Even when he sat as Speaker of the National Assembly, he knows the law very, very well. Actually, in and out, he quotes a law without reference, and he will talk. I mean, in a general conversation, JB will quote for you some law that you've never heard of. He's actually very, very good. He's served in the different arms of government. He's served in the executive. He served in the judiciary. He has also been in the legislative arm. But let me just finally say this, Sam, that. As legislators, I think we are conflicted, because that's a question that has come up here. What do you do? Because you can hear that the former CS raises concerns about the president. There are also Kenyans who've gone to court complaining about the mental health issues of the president. They're trying to figure out whether he's okay. I think there's a court case. Somebody is trying to ask, is he really okay? Now, the former CS raises this matter of...
What is the value of that in this conversation?
No. I'm just connecting that because we are talking about two people and the conflict, and it's about one person's word against the other. So we have to figure out the two of them. How do we view them as Kenyans? So anyway, what has happened is that we are conflicted as legislative arm, because when this thing has come up, what do we do? You've seen that some of us are hell-bent on making sure that conversation kind of ends. And we are saying, no, the problem is JB. But yet the reality is that because JB is no longer in the executive, our role as members of parliament is to figure out to get to the bottom of this thing. Find out whether there is any substance. And that is what the Honorable Mukunji has said. Okay. Find out if there's any substance in what the former Attorney General, former CS has told Kenyans. And we address that matter as a legislative arm. But you see, what has happened is that I've had some of our colleagues, they've quickly gone against JB. In fact, one of them was saying, we are going to investigate something to do with Bunge Towers, how the cost has gone up. And then I'm asking myself, the issue is not JB.
That's your boss. That's your boss at the National Assembly.
What do you mean boss? I have no boss in Parliament. No. I'm not boss. He's a leader of minority, not my boss.
And you're the deputy leader of minority.
I'm the deputy leader of minority, and I'm not the boss of anyone in the minority.
Who do you lead? Mheshimiwa Mukonji, so when you hear such kind of claims, is it that if it be a fact or true what the former Attorney General is claiming, that the President is involved in most of these programs that you find he's personally interested, is it possible that it's only JB Muturi who knows that? That no one else knows that and no one has taken the same
I want to, some say that after the Gen Z demonstrations and after the Finance Bill 2024, I happened to accompany the President in Embu, in Bere North. And in a speech in somewhere called Kanyuambora, he gave us very good words. This is after the nomination of JB as the CS. He gave very good words about JB Muturi. He said he has served him very well in the Attorney General position, and he's going now to serve him in the Labour docket.
Public service, you mean?
Public service.
Public service docket. And the President actually gave him a good accolade, and everybody was happy. And now, when I hear my good friends here saying master in confliction and contradiction, I believe their script, in terms of what the President has been saying, should also be reviewed. Because you can also not say somebody who was incompetent as AG, now you are saying that you have given him even a better docket, as he used the words he used in that speech. And then you say now he was actually completely incompetent. It doesn't make sense. And it's also not right to say that whatever JB has mentioned, we cannot blush it away like that. It is not right. Now, I want to, because I've heard you play that interview by the President, I want you to actually, I listened to the interview and I was comparing what JB has said about the President and also what the President said in the same interview on why the former Deputy President was impeached. I was doing a comparison. Many of the things that the President said why the former Deputy President was impeached, he mentioned about issues to do with relationship with other leaders. And he said, he was solving issues to do with fights with the PA, fights with very small people in government. And he said, by that reason, he was not able to save the former Deputy President. But then, Mutuse came with other allegations of all these manner of things that were actually completely disapproved by everybody who listened. And then I listened to the allegations that JB gave about the President. And that is why I wanted to appeal to my colleagues here, legislative arm of government. We have got to start getting serious. We cannot actually ruin this country like that. When allegations come out, even from a dog in State House, we need to listen. Because we are the ones to actually say, this one is dismissed, this one is not. We cannot take seriously things on one person, and the other person we say, we are cutting some slack. It is not right for actually to utter words here as a legislative arm of government, defending something that we have not investigated. It shows we have a big problem, because it shows that the executive is literally controlling what we are saying as a legislative arm of government. That is why I insist that whatever JB Muturi said must be taken seriously. The Adani issue, the issue about oligarchs from Russia, those are not things that we can ignore and say that it was mentioned by somebody who is angry.
That's what I'm asking.
It is not right.
That's what I'm asking, because JB Muturi has made those allegations. Is it possible that it's only... Is it possible that it's only him that knows about the existence of those?
When we form an inquiry on these issues, it's when things can come out.
Why is it that there are so many others who may know this information and they're doing nothing about it?
And that is why we need to actually do an inquiry on this. That is why we need to do an inquiry on this and actually put information out there that anybody else who knows about this should come out and give information. But ignoring it is not in the books.
Is what you're calling for possible in the current setup?
Come again, please?
What you're asking for, is it possible?
Why should it not be possible?
The leader of minority just...
I want to say that...
he's deflecting from the allegations.
Yeah.
Unless we close the National Assembly and the Senate and go home, we have got to do our work.
What will you be doing?
No, we have got to inquire on this.
Because you've made that statement, what will you do in regards to this?
From here, of course, when we get to the National Assembly, there's a need to actually dwell further. There are committees on these matters that have been actually constituted just the other day. Unless we want to close shop, the legislative arm of government must work to ensure that this thing we get to the bottom.
All right.
We can dismiss it when we investigate. But right now, it is not right to dismiss it.
What is it? Because I want to transition to the next topic.
Yes.
10 seconds.
Well, I have listened to my good friends, Honorable Mbui, describing the convincing ability of the presidency, and rather in a positive way. But of course, he goes ahead to make a conclusion that there is a control freak, which is not a reflection of what he's just said. What Honorable...
is it possible for a leader to be a control freak?
It is.
Is it
very possible, and it's not entirely a bad thing, because as long as you know the environment that you are working in, the limits of your ability to control.
So how do you check that against the constitutional provisions?
Now, there are certain provisions in the Constitution that says what does the president do, what is expected of a cabinet secretary, what is expected of us as members of parliament. The roles that Honorable Mugunji is saying that we need to close shop. And I wanted to say we are doing our job as the National Assembly, as the Senate. The issue would be if then someone brings up this issue of the allegations by J.B. Muturi to the floor of the House, it will be now the role of Parliament to deal with it. But as long as it is not yet, we are not going to be fair on the one hand to say we cannot ignore them. The way you have asked, the way he said, we can't ignore them. At the same time, we are giving it a necessary latitude, yet it is something that is yet to be tested before a platform that will call for evidence, that will call for information from other people, including those whom we have said they could be knowing this story, but they are not speaking. So you see...
The reason why we're talking about it here is because it is informing public opinion.
Yes, exactly.
But the role of Parliament is not to ride in the public opinion. It is to do its work, isn't it?
And that is why I'm saying, if it were then to come to the floor of the House, it will definitely disclose the extent of, the gullibility of J.B. Muturi, the extent of the desire that he wants. I wanted to just read a description of the position of J.B. by the article in Makoha's page. This is in the Daily Nation. He says that J.B. is the living and breathing representation of what is wrong in this country. A generation that refuses to leave the stage long after the music has stopped playing. They refuse to read the signs and hang on it the hope that they can renew themselves in readiness for the next season. That is exactly what J.B. Muturi is trying to do by the utterances he's making. He's trying to renew himself, hoping that you'll have another season.
All right.
But
Senator,
unfortunately, no.
Senator, I don't know who gives seasons.